So this is going to be a little bit different talk. It's not really going to be, I'm not going to show you anything fancy like code splitting or fancy React hooks. We got other folks for that tonight, but I'm going to give like, I guess, a little mini TED talk about my journey to coding. Completely unconventional, and you'll find out why I spell my online name with a Q. Go by the Qodesmith with a Q, and there is no U. All right. So this is my journey from Tracksmith, and we'll get into that, to being a Qodesmith. And I went from rapping on tracks to working on tracks to JavaScript awesomeness. Completely changed my life. So there's two J's that changed my life: Jesus and JavaScript. We're going to talk about my journey to get into the JavaScript. And I hope to do three things tonight. One, obviously, I would like to share my story with you. I really hope to inspire you, put some creative nugget in your mind, and then I hope that this encourages you. I'm a complete, firm believer that anybody can code. I'm sure most of you already do. There's a lot of real emotional hurdles involved in trying to get up on your feet and learning to code, and definitely mental muscles, mental hurdles like stretching your brain muscles. So let me take you back in time. I wish I was like 21, but I ain't. So we're going to go back down into the golden era. This is leading up to 1996. And this is the 90s, if anybody knows, is the golden era of hip hop. That's when hip hop was like actually good. You know, I'm not sure what they feeding you on the radios nowadays, but that don't keep my creativity going. Quick hip hop lesson. From the original culture, and when it started in the Bronx, they labeled it with 4 elements. And I'm going to show you how this is a little relevant to me getting into coding. The first element is the MC. This is where my life journey took. I was rapping since I don't even know, 16 till forever. You got the DJ and or producer. You have the B-boy, break dancers, B-boys, B-girls, and then you got the graph artist, and it is art. Love graph. Okay. So I want to introduce you to a famous B-boy. Has anybody ever heard of Crazy Legs? Okay. Has anybody ever heard of the Rocksteady crew? Okay. Same hands. So Crazy Legs. Oh, it does play sound. Anyway, this is back in the 90s. This is him doing his thing. This is hip-hop culture at its finest. People breaking, expressing themselves, and whatnot. And the Rocksteady crew is a famous B-boy crew. They went worldwide, all over the place. And he's probably the most known, I guess, in that group. And the reason why I mentioned Crazy Legs, and he's one of the 4 elements of hip-hop, right? But he was part of something called the Universal Zulu Nation. And this is where my story starts to get a little wild. I was part of the Zulu Nation. There's a lot of pseudo-religious beliefs. They're completely hip-hop based. They talk about peace and all of that nonsense. But in reality, we were no different than any other street gang. So there was violence. There was talk about New World Order. There was talk about everybody needed to be strapped, carry guns in layman's terms. For a street takeover and to be prepared. So I gravitated towards the hip-hop culture with zero direction. I had a lot of troubles at home, personally with my father. It seems like that's a theme for a lot of people that wild out like I did. So my life was completely entrenched in the streets. I had no type of interest in school, no type of interest in education. My interest was in respect, fighting, and girls, none of which is anything productive the way I was dealing with it. Zulu was kind of like a family to me. It was started by a dude named Africa Bambaataa. That's him with the cool glasses, and the guy on the right is Crazy Legs. We just saw him dancing. A very street-oriented organization. There were a lot of brothers who were all about peace. But for the most part, us knuckleheads on the street, this was just our way of grouping together, having some sort of identity, and it always meant clashing with somebody else. So my identity was completely rooted in trying to take someone else's, or have someone else go down so that I could try to prop myself up. And that was me back in the 90s, where I was up until 97. In January 5th, 1997, I had a very interesting experience. I don't like to sugarcoat or glamorize, but I'll tell you this, I know what I was before and I know what I was after. It's kind of like a pure function. You give it an argument, right? And what you put in, then you get something out. It transformed, right? So it was exactly like that. Like Jesus was my transformer function. I don't know, the stuff came from the database and then completely rearranged and then got put on the UI, and now I'm like, whoa. So 97 was a shift, and back then when I told you I was rapping, and I went by the name Quest the Wordsmith, hence the Q for the Qodesmith. And the reason why I chose that name was ever since I had my God moment and completely changed my life, I dropped dealing with the nonsense I was on the street. Internally, I saw people in a different way. And so I felt like life was a journey. Life was not this 5 steps and then I get to the goal, and this is exactly what I'm achieving, because every goal that I could achieve, or every level that I could reach to, there was something new and there was something greater, and for the first time I was actually happy. You know, I had a smile on my face and I wasn't trying to tear nobody down. I saw people for who they were. Like I could really enjoy other folks and in the process enjoy my own life. So I was rapping, and man, I had it in me. I was trying to change the world. I knew what happened to me. I was still somewhat of a knucklehead though, because you know, it's hard to break old habits and whatnot, but you know, I came from the streets. That hip hop culture really was inside of me. It was like who I was. Like I used to say that slogan. I don't know if you ever heard anybody else say it, but it was like, yo, I don't do hip hop. I am hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So that was me. That was me to the fullest. I was gonna be rapping till I was 896 years old. I was never gonna put the mic down. And that was my plan. I was really trying to make it in the hip hop industry. Seemed like it came close a couple of times. You know, it's just weird. When it concerns New York and the music industry, the stars got to be aligned. You know, your talent is really kind of inconsequential. And it is what it is. So I went on a journey. And I'm getting older, and it's 2005. And I'm working at Bank of America, making, I think it was $10 an hour as a teller, putting on the one little blazer that I had, and you know, trying to make ends meet. I took the test for the city to work as a track worker in the tunnels in the subway system. So I finally got a full-time job that I could project into the future. Some stability was finally starting to come. I joined the MTA as a track worker. And let me tell you something, I used to go to the tracks way before I got the job, because I was looking for the infamous mole people, but we can get into that later. But let me tell you something, New York there is an underground world that is right there while you're riding the subway. Just look. You'll see the subways, the abandoned ones. You'll see the huge, beautiful murals right there in the tunnels and whatnot. So I worked for the city, and I was a track worker for the better part of about a decade. That's me working on the Manhattan Bridge, and of course I'm climbing all over the place where I'm not supposed to be, but I don't care. And I loved it. I had fun, and the MTA was awesome until it wasn't. Not to put nobody down, but the qualifications for that job is you got to have a pulse. You know, be able to lift like 40 pounds and just show up. And that's all you had to do. And at first it was cool because I was nostalgic about the rails, because I came from that with the graph artists. I knew who the legendary graph artists were. It was part of the culture. And And so it was really fun. I felt like a kid in a toy shop going to work. But I'm getting older, and I'm just surrounded by a lot of broken people. And I get it, there's broken people anywhere. But at this point, I was able to get married. I got married, had my first kid, had my second kid, called it quits, no more. But I got 2 kids, I'm married, I love my wife, I love my children, and I can't wait to get home to them at the end of the day. I'm surrounded in transit by folks who's cheating on their wives, hate their kids, hate their neighbors, hate everything about life, and I'm completely changed. I came from hatred. I want nothing to do with that. And so there's only so much you could really be around, like toxicity, whatever you want to call it, but to each his own. So I had to make moves. Just a little rabbit trail, speaking about the underground. This is called the Freedom Tunnel. Has anybody ever heard of the Freedom Tunnel? Man, we got some people here. There's a tunnel on the west side of Manhattan. It goes from around the 50s. I think Trump Tower, he's got like a building over there, and it goes all the way up. It goes underground. What's that park? Riverside? It travels completely under Riverside Park, all the way up to 125th. Side note, this is where I proposed to my wife. I took her into the tunnel. The first time I ever spray painted, it was horrible, but I tried to do her name on the wall. I said, "Will you marry me?" It was awesome. But anyway, this is where the infamous mole people they used to reside. Unfortunately, the MTA kicked them out. They cleaned them up. They gave them housing in the 90s. But this book by Jennifer Toth was just my intro to this underground world. And there was just homeless societies living down there, making a way for themselves. And a lot of the graffiti artists who used to go do, there's got to be like 20-foot murals by 15 feet high. It's tremendous. It's beautiful. Anyway, she catalogs it in the book. And so, of course, me and my friends, we just run, and we're going after everything we see in these pages. But in any case, so time is progressing. I'm trying to make something happen for myself in music. And I was like, yo, I'm only going to be at the MTA for 2 years. And I'm out because I'm going to get a deal, or I'm going to try to make, like, I'm just going to put myself on the map. Somebody's going to see me, and one open door is going to lead to the next. So I formed a group. Me and one of my best friends formed the group Freestyle Fam. Shameless plug. Go to freestylefam.com and check it out for yourself. You see, all the music is free. Lord knows I never got paid for it. So there we go. That sexy radio you see on top of my boy's shoulder, her name is Marquise. And she is, I wanted to bring her, but I blasted my back out this Sunday, so there's no way I'm carrying a 35-pound radio. But in any case, we did a lot of things, hooked up with a bunch of producers, and every single time, it seemed like we were getting close and close, and it was just a carrot on the stick. And eventually, 10 years came, and I couldn't take it no more. And I had like an existential crisis. And one of the dudes that I rapped with from Queens, street-looking guy, never would think there's any type of technical bone in this guy's body. He coming over here talking about he went through a boot camp. I'm like, you? First of all, I didn't even know what a boot camp was. And he said he learned how to code. And he went to Flatiron. Well, all right. Flatiron wasn't around, or they didn't have, the timing wasn't right, so I ended up going to General Assembly. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I mean, when I tell you that my life was completely changed, my life was completely changed. I left a pension, a guaranteed paycheck, where I didn't really have to do nothing but show up, job security like I'll never find again, with 2 kids, a mortgage, a wife, and my wife is a stay-at-home mom, and I went out on a limb with my wife's support to learn JavaScript, and in 12 weeks, I became a developer. And it gave me almost everything else music used to give me. It's creative, it's imaginative, there's challenges, there's a community. Like here I am, I'm talking to you folks, you know what I'm saying? Well, I ain't rapping and it's not rhyming, you know what I'm saying? But there's a recognition of accomplishments, but really, you're coming with a paycheck, you know what I'm saying? Like, I finally get paid for something that I love, something that I do. So in closing, I just want to say that you take it from a guy like me who literally had nothing going for me. Could have been a cliche statistic, street statistic, ignorant, maybe shot dead somewhere in the street with nothing to show for it. And instead, I learned how to code, put some money in my pocket, put some satisfaction in my heart, and here I get to partake in the community where you find folks. You know what I'm saying? So you can get at me. Those are the websites. That's my email. That's my Twitter handle. And I hope this was inspiring for you folks.